Folks, everyone loves fire lookouts. They carry mystery, history, and some of the best panoramic views that you can find. Today we're riding from Hobart Mills near Truckee, California, off of Highway 89. We're literally right off the highway. You turn right at Hobart Mills, turn into the parking lot, and here you'll find these two commemorative plaques. This one's from 1938, this one's from 1975. We're heading to Sardine Peak, and it's one of the premier fire lookouts in the area, and one of Truckee's hidden gems. While we're on a mountain bike today, you can actually drive up to Sardine Peak. It's a four-wheel drive road, probably a good SUV with clearance could make it, but it's a bit of a steep climb. It's a nice road getting there, so let's go check it out. And while we're on our way, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of this Hobart Mills, which is an interesting place. But the only thing left now are these two commemorative plaques. So let's get going. For your convenience, folks, there are bathrooms here at the start. So we're going to leave this sign and plaque and head up the trail. First order of business is getting out of this parking area and back onto the Hobart Mills Road. You can see to our left that stop sign right there, that's Highway 89, but we are going to go in on Hobart Mills Road. Just a bit. Once we get about a quarter mile in on the road, you're going to see this kind of work area, and it's kind of seems like it's a bit of a quarry, industrial area. They say you've got topsoil here, there's some gravel, and if you look over to the left there are some logs stored over there. And it should be pointed out that this place really has nothing to do with the old Hobart Mills. It's just something that's going on today. The town unfortunately burned down in the 1930s. I think it might have been 1938, and there's nothing left of it. All right, so we only go about a quarter mile in on this road, and then we're going to take this little left-hand spur here, and those of you who are driving vehicles are not going to go this way. What you're going to do is, rather than turning right into the Hobart Mills area, which you may want to check out anyway, but what you're going to do is continue past that and then take your first left, literally a short distance, quarter mile past the turnoff, and that will get you on the drivable roads. And I'm going to show you that in just a minute. Okay, in short order, we're back on Highway 89. You can see the truck going by, the trucks, and all we're going to do is go straight across, but we're not going to get run over. Okay, so again, if you're coming up Highway 89 from that direction, you're just going to turn left right here, and it says Hobart Work Center. Now we've got another little turn here we got to pay attention to. There's a couple different ways you can go, but we're going to kind of stay right and take this road here. Can't see that sign very well on the left, but I think it says two-wheel drive not recommended, but I think honestly any vehicle with a little bit of clearance would make this okay. I think a two-wheel drive pickup truck could make it, but probably a Prius or something like that, maybe not so much. So this road is part of the Bear Valley Loop, which is another really epic ride to do out here. And I actually did a video on that, and I'll put a link to that below, and it'll be at the end of this video. And you can actually combine them, but then you've got like a very, very hard 60-mile dirt ride, and it's kind of a little bit more than I want to do today. So as we cruise along here, I just want to show you this beautiful scenery, and I'm going to give you a little bit of history on Hobart Mills because it's kind of an interesting story. Many don't know that Hobart Mills was once a bustling logging town with families and much more. The Sierra Nevada Wood and Lumber Company began as a small lumber mill in 1873. W.S. Hobart, with Seneca Sam Marlette, organized the Sierra Nevada Wood and Lumber Company in Incline at the north end of Lake Tahoe on the Nevada side in 1878 and operated until 1890. When Incline ran out of lumber in 1896, the machinery from Incline was moved and laid scattered on a spot on the north side of Prosser Creek, 6 miles north of Truckee. They wanted to build a lumber town with all of W.S. Hobart's rules. By 1900, the town of Hobart Mills was erected. Hobart Mills was first called Overton in honor of its dedicated superintendent, Captain James Bear Overton of Sierra Nevada Wood and Lumber Company. The town would still have been called Overton if the post office had not denied the town name of Overton, stating that there were too many towns named Overton already in use across the country. Hobart Mills was a beautiful town. The streets were wide, they had excellent water pressure with pure mountain spring water. They also had a modern, for its time, sewage system, electric lights, a fire department, and all the needed conveniences of a large isolated mountain town. The workforce averaged 600 to 800 men, and the population, including families, was about 1,500 or more at times. The town was originally built for 1,000 people, almost as large as Truckee in 1897. Single men stayed in the bunkhouses, boarding houses, or the hotel annex. Company officials preferred men with families to single loggers and millmen, and tried to persuade as many men as possible to get married, raise families, and provided married men and their families with small modern houses on neat streets, sanitary facilities,
and a hospital and a school. The company also made sure the residents were rewarded for living a productive, sober life. This kept fights and crime to a minimum. There was no gambling or prostitution. The atmosphere in Hobart Mills wasn't as tough as it was in Truckee. The other definitive rule was that churches were also not allowed in Hobart Mills. Management's goal was to keep the working men too busy to drink or pray. Lumber mills in the Truckee area had provided wood products for local construction and ties and cordwood for the railroad from the late 1860s, when the Transcontinental Railroad came through. However, it wasn't until the last decade of the 19th century that the use of narrow-gauge railroads to transport logs to the mills and wood products to the Transcontinental enabled logging and lumber production and distribution on an industrial scale. Between 1896 and 1936, the lumber company built a network of more than 75 miles of narrow-gauge tracks north and east of Hobart Mills. By 1935, the 65,000 acres of timber were nearly depleted, and plans were being made to shut down the operation and shutter the town. Logging was terminated in August 1936, and the last log was run through the mill on September 25th. The houses in Hobart Mills were well built, and many of the houses were moved to Truckee. The 1939 fire burned the sawmill, box factory, machine shop, and other large buildings, plus the lumber yard. Nothing was left for them to build back Hobart Mills.
Folks, we're about 3 miles in, and this is where we want to take a right here. And it says Forest Road 8781 to the right here. It's just a kind of a Y. And it also should be pointed out that we are paralleling Highway 89 just over to our right. If your goal is just to get to Sardine Peak as quickly as possible, you certainly can skip this dirt part, but it's certainly on a mountain bike, you definitely want to do it, because riding bikes on Highway 89 is no fun, but driving is just fine. You might be noticing these puddles that we're passing. In the past few days in Truckee, there have been afternoon thunderstorms. It's kind of a cycle. It does happen during the summer. It's actually really nice because it can get really dry and dusty up here. So we're back onto a clear sky schedule now. Okay, we came into the dip here, and there's a little creek crossing that you can see. And then naturally after we cross the creek, we've got a bit of a climb. Folks, we're about 5 miles in, and here's another intersection. There's a road down there, and there's one kind of straight ahead that kind of looks like the main road, but we're gonna go this way. That goes to Prosser Creek, as you can see from the sign, and we're gonna go toward Little Truckee Summit. Okay, so right after that intersection, we gain the summit of that hill, and it's a pretty good hill. It's probably about a mile long. Well, as we crest out, we do have a little bit of a view through the trees here. It's just trees and more trees. Fire clearing. These fires have been such a problem. You actually look down here to the right. You can see this is a proper forest with a relatively clean forest floor and larger trees with higher branches. That certainly helps with fire management. All right, folks, here's the trail to Independence Lake. And a while back, I rode my mountain bike there. You can park your mountain bike, and they have free kayaks and even little motorboats, like little fishing boats, that you can use for free, which is pretty awesome. The reason they do that is they're concerned about the clam infestation, and they don't want to have to worry about cleaning people's boats, so they just let you use theirs. And the fishing motorboat thing is pretty cool, but just as a warning, you do need a boater's license to check one of those out. You can drive to that lake on the dirt. You don't need to mountain bike, but it's a nice adventure to mountain bike and then use the kayaks. All right, folks, we're about 11 miles in, and there's another creek crossing. So that probably means we're gonna start climbing a little bit again. But it's kind of flat, it's not bad. All right, so a mile or two back, I just showed you another junction that said Independence Lake Loop, and you can make a loop, and I've done that. That's what we did when I did it. But if you look over this way, you can see this is the more main route to Independence Lake. It's 3 miles. We're not going there today. We're going to continue toward Jackson Meadow Road this way, and then we're going to cross 89 and work our way to Sardine Peak. All right, folks, so we are on the what I think is called the old fiberboard road. And then we hit this pavement, and this is mostly, I think, just to get us across the creek on this fancy bridge. Don't remember the name of this creek, but I'll put it down below. It's, oh, there's a osprey, I think. And then there's the creek going down that way. What we're gonna do now is climb up to Jackson Meadow Road, very close to Highway 89. So we're gonna cross 89 and then catch the road that's going to lead us towards Sardine Peak. As we get back up to the road, it turns back to dirt again. It's real smooth gravel. And then we're going to hit the pavement on Jackson Meadow Road to take us back to Highway 89. All right, so here we are coming back up to Jackson Meadow Road. If we go left there, we go to Weber Lake and eventually to Jackson Meadows. Then it turns back to dirt, and I think you can keep going all the way down the hill to the Central Valley. Folks, I'm just going to turn in here and show you this kind of staging area. It's right on Highway 89. It's a place you can park if you want to do a ride around here. Because if you look over that way, you can see a car going by. That's Highway 89. So right here, it's a great place to stage a ride. And I did one ride, I think I called it something like the Truckee Gravel North Loop. So if you do the 100-mile Truckee gravel route, you're going to do this northern loop in addition to the standard 60-mile route. So I came out just to do that northern route. Now what we want to do is we want to go along Highway 89. I think there might be, we're going to head back out to 89 here, which is right here. And we're going to go for a short bit. And I think we can get on a little fire road that's going to take us south on 89. Now again, I said before, 89 is not a great bicycle road, but fortunately we just have to do just a short bit. Now here's a road. Let me try this. See if this is just a parking area. It might be just a parking area, but it might do what we need to do. Well, folks, I wouldn't call it a well-traveled route, but let's see if this will go where we want it to go. See a bunch of bike tracks here, so it's a big old ride. Yeah, it's not the prettiest road, but I think this will keep us off Highway 89, so that's great. We don't want to go in too far, though. Okay, so I just checked my map. I think this is going to work. It's a little dicey, but I want to see if we're able to stay off of Highway 89. And there's another track here, so somebody's been out here. As you can see, it's pretty ruddy. And this is where we want to take a left. Stay close to 89. Oh yeah, this is just fine. So we got a little tree we got to get around. Looks like there's a path. Oh yeah. It's pretty doable. Oops, I was supposed to go left there. Let's see if I can get up here. Oh. Yeah, we got it. Okay. I think this is gonna go. It's not very long, and we're heading south, and right above me to the left on that ridge is Highway 89. So we're staying off 89, which is kind of fantastic. If you don't want to do this though, you could ride the road. All right, folks, so we get a nice view of the river over there. So the view opens up here a little more. There's a little river access road there. You can see over that way the traffic going down Highway 89. It says something about a flagger, so I think that's where the flagger is. So I'm staying to the left and trying to stay close to Highway 89. And I think this is going to spit me out in the right place if all goes well. This is where we want to come out, but unfortunately there's a big ass gate, and it remains to be seen if we can get through here. I'll bet we can, but let's check it out. I don't see any locks. Oh yeah. I think it's just a cattle gate or something. No big deal. We just got to do this here, and we can get through. As always, we leave gates how we found them. We literally just crossed the road here, and that's the road we want right there. Looks like there's another gate. Presumably it won't be locked. Yeah, and this is where the road work is being done, and there's the pilot car, no doubt. Beautiful. Okay, so this gate is open. There's a sign that says County Road 456. And then we've got a little brown sign up here that we're going to check out. It says Kyburz Flat, interpretive area, 1 mile. Maybe we ought to check that out, because that's going to be before our turnoff. So this road is going to take us along, and then what we're going to do is turn left on the road up to Sardine Peak. That's going to be a big climb, but we'll get some great views up there, so stick around. Wow, look at this, folks. What a beautiful meadow. They've obviously put down a lot of gravel on this road to keep it from getting too muddy, probably. Probably gets a little wet down here. You can just take Highway 89 all the way out here and just turn right on this road, and that's gonna be by far your quickest way to get to Sardine Peak Lookout. However, I would probably only recommend that if you're in a car. And this is called Kyburz Flat. There are 3 interpretive sites here. Take a moment to understand the people who lived here, how each use the environment in different ways, and the unique marks each left on the landscape. There's a petroglyph, there's Moore's Station, and there's Wheeler Sheep Camp. You know, we might have to check this out. Oh, and this meadow here, Kyburz Flat, which is that meadow we've been looking at, it says it's a wildlife viewing area. And I think what we want to do is this. We want to first check out the petroglyph site, which is right here, and we're right here. And we're going to go up this 0.7 mile road, check out the sheep camp, and then we'll continue on our way and just check out Moore's. This valley was inhabited by the Washoe, who lived here as early as 2,000 years ago. That's the petroglyphs. And then in the 1850s, immigrants began using Tennis Pass Road, which extended from Nevada City, California to Virginia City, Nevada. And that's Moore's Station, which is going to be down that way. And then Wheeler Sheep Camp, which is up the road that way. Later, the valley and surrounding hills were used extensively for grazing and lumbering. Basques began arriving from their homeland in Spain in the early 1900s to tend and graze sheep. All right, so let's start with the petroglyphs. I didn't even know about this place, to be honest. All right, folks, so here's what it looked like. That's it there before it cracked. This is theoretically what it looked like, so let me show you that. And apparently all these holes and such were the petroglyphs, and I'm not sure what we can see now, but there's a hole there. Maybe not the most exciting petroglyph to look at. Folks, so now we're just heading up this short spur up to the sheep ranch area. It's 0.7 miles on this smooth, so far very gradual uphill road. So I think we're gonna be okay on this one. All right, so this is the Wheeler Sheep Camp, as you can see. And we found it, and it's just right on the edge of the meadow here. And then there's this old building here, which we're gonna check out. I'm not quite ready for my lunch yet, but if I was, this wouldn't be a bad place to stop. Well, this is like an old oven. Not sure what it is. It's some sort of kiln or oven. You can see this pole here is just holding the door open. Somebody's got some lighter fluid there, so maybe somebody's having a little barbie in there. There's a spatula and a hoe. There's a look inside. It's pretty big. It's kind of like a mini kiln or oven. It's very cool. Of course, I can't resist showing you how this door works. See the old hinges there, welded on there. Pretty cool. Definitely done by a blacksmith. That wood looks to be in really good shape, so I'm guessing that there's been some restoration work, and you see how beautiful this meadow is here. How big it is. It's huge. And I suspect there may have been some sort of interpretive sign on this post here that somebody's seen fit to take away. I'm just walking around it and checking it out. Watching for snakes. Although we don't really have many snakes up here in Tahoe. Well, there's actually, somebody's left some wood. So if you want to fire it up, you can. And there's an old rake there that you can stick in there. These other utensils, just a hoe with some rebar. For those of you who like to fool around with the hoe, and here's an old bench here. And this is what it looks like from the other side. On the shady side. Beautiful old building. Oh, and there's if you look carefully on the top, you can see a chimney. I'm gonna go over here and see if I can get a little bit closer. There you can see the chimney. Oh, that was pretty cool. I hope you enjoyed that. I sure did. I did not know about this place, so this has been a little bit of a bonus treat for me. I thought it was all about Hobart Mills and Sardine Peak. We got to see some other stuff as well. That was called Wheeler Sheep Camp. And then we got to check out the camp down in the meadow, see if there's any remnants or remains down there. Oh, and one more thing I just thought of, just back there I saw what looked like a really nice campground, primitive. And I don't know what the rules are out here, but I'm guessing it would be perfectly fine to camp out here. So keep that in mind if you want to come out here and camp and do a little four-wheeling and head up to Sardine Peak. That would be a pretty fun weekend outing, whether you're on your bike or not. All right, folks, so there's this interpretive walk along this boardwalk, and there are, I think, 6 or so attractions, and they have these little plaques, I think. So we're just gonna cruise around and check them out. And this is Hennis Pass Road, and apparently this was the road through here back in the day before the railroads, and then I think the Transcontinental Railroad was completed in 1869, and that kind of put an end to this road because people were more likely to use the more convenient train. So we're going to do a counterclockwise loop, and I'm riding my bike on it, but I don't think it matters because there's nobody here. But anyway, so this is the site of Moore's Hotel, and apparently it was right there, and I don't see any remains except for some old metal. So let's go just kind of check that out and see what that's about. It's mostly some old cans and stuff, nothing that interesting. All right, folks, well, this is the Moore's Station well right here, and this is what remains of the old 40-foot deep hole. And the sign said you had to hand pump the water out of here. Obviously, in these kind of places, it was critical to have water. So we look around the meadow there. We might have a view over toward the sheep camp. And here's the site of the barn. We can read about that there. And then apparently it's just right out here. Nothing left. It's just everything's been burned down and is long gone. But one thing that I find interesting is that, usually when you have a boardwalk like this, it's because they don't want to be trampling through the marsh. But I think this is just to protect the historical site, which is pretty cool. So they're just trying to preserve it as it is, even though there's only vegetation left here. All right, so here's the old corral. And on this one, we actually do see some remnants because you can see this it was a low stone wall and it was used to hold up the fences, apparently. You can see the stone wall going out that way. And maybe around over, back behind that smaller tree over there. All right, so here's another attraction where something remains because the base of it was made out of stone, the foundation or whatever. And you can see the stone foundation right in front of us. That's all that remains here of the old root cellar. All right, so that was a very short distraction. I missed one thing here. There's an old plaque that shows tribute to the old railroad or something. I'll snap a photo of that and show you that. This thing has a little description. It says, Hennis Pass Road to Kyburz Flat. Took up Mud Spring Valley, also known as Sardine Valley, then down a rough descent and into another little valley 3 miles, Kyburz Flat. Good grass here, then went 2 miles to Little Truckee River, that's the river we just saw a minute ago. Loring Samuel, Comstock, August 1855. Folks, it's time to carry on. From the recent rains, there's actually some water out there, which is pretty cool. Some guy camping down here. Looks like a nice spot. Well, we've got cows out here. It's not too surprising. Looks like there's some good grazing out here. And a fella just juvenile just kind of staring at me. Go stop and maybe get a photo of him. There he goes. That's really a pretty sight. Look at that. All right, folks, so we've left the meadow and then we've got a small climb to get up and over. And we got a little downhill and then we turn left and get on the road up to Sardine Peak. And that's a huge climb. It's hard, steep, rocky. Here's the crest of the first climb. It's about 300 feet. We got a little downhill. And then we're going to turn left onto the Sardine Peak Road, which is a very interesting road. Gets a little tricky and weird at the top, but we'll check that out. All right, folks, so here we are, ready to start up the climb to Sardine Peak. We'll take this left here. The meat of the ride begins and the main attraction, which is Sardine Peak Lookout. My Garmin is now saying that I've already been up a little bit and there's still 1,800 feet of climbing remaining, so this is a pretty good climb. That's why it's a tough add-on if you're doing the Bear Valley Loop. You gotta be really fit because it adds a significant and really difficult climb. And the Bear Valley Loop is plenty hard enough on its own. All right, so here's another right turn we gotta take, and this is Sardine Lookout is 4 miles. If you go 10 miles, you can go to Lewis Mill. So I forgot that there was another turn. So this is the real road. We do a long traverse up the side of the mountain, and finally we switch back and start heading the other way. There are some views about halfway up that are amazing, but of course they won't be eclipsed by the beautiful views at the top.
I know what some of y'all are thinking. Could I ride my gravel bike up this road? Well, you absolutely could. In fact, the Truckee gravel race did take this route on one or more occasions. It is a bit rough on the gravel bike. It is a bit steep and it is a bit loose, but you definitely can do it. But I personally, just as far as comfort and ease, not in a race situation, I'd choose the mountain bike just for its lower gears, suspension, and traction on this loose stuff. So there you have it. So don't shy away if you want to ride your gravel bike up here and if you're really fit. Folks, so we're getting near the top. You can kind of sense if you look off the backside there, get a little bit of a view. And this road to the right here is where I think the Truckee gravel ride would head down. So they did not actually go to the true summit. So you see a sign there, it says Sardine Lookout. And let's continue up and get to the top of this puppy. It says locked gate ahead, no turnaround. So keep that in mind if you're in a vehicle. And I think I recall that you can get around it on a bike or on foot, but you can't drive past the gate. I think they just want to keep cars out of there. Here's the gate right here. Super narrow. Probably not rideable unless you're really good. It's a little rocky and narrow. All right, folks, it's a little steep. So you can get started on this. The old sideways start. Okay, here we go. A little steep and loose, but just for the short bit. Oh yeah, see, you're starting to get a little, well, we're looking through the trees, but it's kind of like a panorama. All right, so you can see how it opens up. So we get near the top. I suspect that might be the outhouse there. You bet. And then just to the left up there, there's that beautiful lookout. Oh my God, look at that. Absolutely gorgeous.
All right, folks, well, it's a good time as any to enjoy a nice lunch here at the picnic table at Sardine Peak. And I want to talk a little bit about the fire lookout and its history. As we walk over there, I'm going to climb up and have a look around the deck and talk about it. I've taken to making burritos when I go for bike rides rather than eating that crappy bike food. This one is beans, avocado, hummus, spinach, and some salt and spices, and it's actually really good. But you can see this incredible view. You can see the vault toilet down there. All right, folks, so the original Sardine Peak Lookout was built in 1915. And the only way to get up here at that time was to hike a trail, and all the supplies were brought up by pack mule. And then this structure that you see here, which is considered a 3-story, was built in 1935. And this one has remained here since, and it's actually in pretty good shape. Now I looked into it and you can rent it out. You apply through the Sierraville Forest Service chapter, whatever. There's no water. However, there is propane. You can see the tank right here. Of course, there's no toilet in there. The vault toilet is down the hill right there, which I showed you. So let's get up on the deck. I think we can get up there and then we'll just see what it looks like from up there. Paint is a little suspect, however, the wood seems pretty good. It's a little airy right here. You want to be up here if this wood was rotten. Oh my God, this is unbelievable. You know, the roof is pretty low, but I'm sure it's going to be locked. Oh, you can see inside. I'm going to walk around so the light's better on that side, but in the meantime, let's look at the view here. This is kind of looking east, and then you see the reservoirs over there. I think that's probably, if I have them right, that's Stampede, and that's Prosser probably. And then Boca's over a little bit farther. And now we're looking south on the south side of the building. You can see the picnic table down there and the outhouse over there. A little bit of water over there. And now we're looking west. But as I walk around, I want to show you inside here. Oh yeah. I hope you can see there's beds right here in the foreground. And then there's actually a wash basin over there. No faucet, just a basin. And then there's a kettle. And over to the right there, you can see a kitchen table. This is really nice. I think I want to do this. Now we're on the west side of the building. And I'll just look in through this side. Now you can see again, here's the sink basin. Again, no faucet. Nice 4-burner stove. Table for 4. And then it looks like, let me get you a better view over here. You can't get all the way because of the stairs, but you can see looks like 2 kind of twin beds, but the beds are kind of elaborate. This wooden structure. Oh, and I should point out, there's a beautiful wood stove there. So presumably they supply wood and allow you to have a fire in the wintertime. I hope so. It would be kind of cool to come up here in the wintertime when it's cold, just spark up that stove, but what an incredible spot. Now I know that some of you are only sticking around to check out the fire lookout, not necessarily the return back, so now's a good time to remind you to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, and hopefully you'll see some more videos like this. I do have a couple other ones on fire lookouts, so if you want to check those out. I think I have one done already, and I'll put that in the description below. And once I get the other one done, I'll put that one in there as well, so you'll have a couple other fire lookout videos. But to be honest, this one might be the prettiest of all of them. Don't want to spoil it for you, but God, this thing is incredible. Well, folks, it's an absolutely perfect day up here. I'm actually reluctant to leave. So beautiful. There's no wind. It's warm, it's sunny. Views are incredible. I'm not sure what to say. This is gorgeous, but it is time to move on. So time to say goodbye to the Sardine Fire Lookout and work our way down the hill. Now, if you rent it, I'm not sure if they give you the code to the gate down here so you can drive your car all the way up. They probably do. That way you can have your supplies a little bit closer, but remember, you probably need at least a high clearance all-wheel drive vehicle to get up here, but it's probably only less than a quarter mile to this gate here. So even if you did have to walk from here, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Let's see if there's a key here. There actually is. It's in this little tube here, but you can reach in and stick your hand in here and get to the lock. So I'll bet they give you the key. All right, folks, so we are back at Sierra 450, or my Garmin says this is Hennis Pass Road, which I think is the old name for it, because Hennis Pass used to be the thoroughfare through here before the railroad and before I-80. It's the old way through here. So this road is going to take us back down to Sardine Valley. I think that's the big valley down here. And that'll lead us back to the road that we would be on if we were doing the Bear Valley Loop. All right, folks, so here we are in Sardine Valley. We'll go over and check out this sign here just for fun. This highway is 13 miles, that's where we're going, and Stampede Reservoir is 7 miles. This one is Sierra 8 something, maybe 880 or 860. It's shut up, you can't tell. So here on the road here, there's a nice old cattle loader. And then there's a nice little old building over there. See if this guy's friendly. Howdy. Look at the valley over to the left here. I mean, that is really stunning. We do have a few clouds, but no thunderstorms are predicted today. It's supposed to be sunny. I'm sure we have about at least 15 miles to go. Another gorgeous view of the valley. About a half mile from where we were before. As you can see, it's just absolutely gorgeous. And what a perfect day. Howdy. There's another sign. That road over there goes over to Stampede, and we're not going that way. We're gonna continue down this road. We are going to Stampede, but that's the wrong side. Here's another road out that way. Might be fun to explore out there sometime. See where that one goes. Dog Valley is 5 and Verdi is 9. I have taken the road from Verdi back this way. And that's a pretty good climb out of Verdi. And this right here where that Ram van is, in the Truckee gravel race, there was a rest stop there. All right, folks, so this is the road to Stampede. We've been on pavement for a while. And as I mentioned, that other road to Stampede, that was on the other end of it. So we rode along the reservoir, and now we're on the south side, and we go across the dam. I think we've got maybe, I don't know, maybe 8 miles to go. It's not that far. I think it's mostly, if not all, road. Well, here's the downstream side, and you can see that the reservoir is really low, so they're not letting out any water. But if they did, maybe the spillway's over that way. We'll have another look. Actually, I think I see the spillway right over there where those orange tubes are. You can see the lake level's far below the area where they could even let any water out if they wanted to. We'll have another look over the edge here, though. Should be able to see where the stream would normally be. There we go, now we can see it. So here's the spillway, and that's the river down there. I don't know if I can assume that that's the little Truckee River. You see a little paved path next to the river, and I rode down that the other day, and then there's a gate and you can't get in. But if you look higher up there in the distance, that's the road we were just on. And that goes all the way over to Boca and back to Truckee. So if you're going back to Truckee, that's the way you would go, and that's the way the Truckee gravel race goes. Here's another nice view of Stampede. It's actually quite a large reservoir. Alrighty, so this is Hobart Mills Road. I'm gonna take a right here. I think we've only got like 4 miles to go on this road, and this will get us home. So let's get her done. All right, folks, now we're coming back into the Hobart Mills area. Up here a little ways, I'm gonna show you where we turned in this morning, and we'll complete the loop and then go through that little quarry area again. All right, folks, if you look over there to the right, that's where we went in this morning. And then just up ahead here is this kind of rock area. I've been calling it a quarry. I don't know if it's a quarry. It might be just more of a place where they store the rocks and stuff. There's a big pile of gravel there. A tank, probably a water tank over there. It says inflammable. These huge rock piles. And then I mentioned this morning there's some old logs, but I don't think I showed them to you. I think we'll get a view of them coming back this way though. If you look over to the right, that's where the logs are. You can see them there, and I think it's, sure what they're doing with those. Those might be just more forest management. I don't think there's a mill up there. And then this is just the last little bit to Highway 89, and we're parked right here in the parking area on the left. All right, this is home sweet home. Folks, I appreciate you coming along. Until next time, thanks for watching. And don't forget to leave a comment.